What do you got?
Welcome to the Third Win channel, where today we're reviewing the 8th episode of the 2nd season of iCarly, which is titled I'm a USA Bae. Let's get straight into the review with a quick overview of the plot. The main plot of this episode is Carly getting a dream collab with USA Bae doll through her manager Paul, but when the popular influencer doll is nothing like her, Carly must decide what message she wants to send to her fans. And the subplot this episode, which is really fun, is Spencer enlisting a pet monkey to help Freddy fix his relationship troubles. In our primary story of this episode, it was great to see the dynamic between Paul and Carly and the managerial style, what the day-to-day might look like, but to me, the subplot of this episode, or the secondary story, really stole the show with Spencer and the monkey. I just thought it was so fun, and I loved to see it every time it was on screen. Now, let's dive deeper into the story through the viewpoint of our characters, starting of course with Carly. One of Carly's dreams of being a USA Bae doll is kind of fulfilled this episode. I do like how they handled Carly this episode, where it showed that she cared more about her fans than the money she would have gotten by going with a doll that didn't really represent her well, but would sell well. Carly wants to be a role model, and she even said it herself, the Carly Bae doll should be a role model. We genuinely have seen a lot of character building for Carly this season, and this episode really only builds to that to a greater extent.
Carly Bae should be a representation of me as a role model. She doesn't lead with her looks. She should have an understated grace.
Yes, and smaller.
Freddy is really falling for Pearl, and when there are short breaks in between them meeting, he gets concerned about things ending because he wonders if he's not good enough or if Pearl has had enough of him. Instead of talking to her about it, he of course goes to great weird lengths to try to solve it somehow with the help of Spencer. Long story short, when Pearl finds out how Freddy is feeling, she confronts him and says that, all of this is just because she wants to take it slow because she really does like Freddy. Taking it slow thing must be kind of new to Freddy because he also says that at this stage in most relationships he's already married. But I'm glad that Freddy gets another happy ending as he's been getting through most of the season. I can't wait to see where it ends for him this season.
Sully's jet lagged.
Can't believe I'm putting my relationship in the hands of you and a monkey. A very cute monkey, but still.
We finally get to meet one of Spencer's friends that isn't Carly, Gibby, or Freddy, or Sam. A real adult in Sullivan the monkey. No, but jokes aside, Spencer's chemistry with Sullivan is amazing, and I love seeing their friendship. I also love seeing the continued support from Spencer towards Freddy. I've always loved their kind of romance.
Damn it! How did you win already? I'll tell you how. You cheated. Don't think I've forgotten how you got us into trouble at that monkey brothel in the Maldives.
Next up, let's talk about Harper, who doesn't have much going on this episode, but we do have the guy who played that one Super Bowl commercial for State Farm, and his name is Byron in the iCarly world, not Jake from State Farm. But Harper is called out on her prejudice this episode, which I think is very fitting and also a great way to build character for Harper. But in the end, at the same time, her prejudice proves right, so I don't know what kind of point it proves one way or the other, but it was fun either way. I'll quickly mention Paul, in that I think he brings something very important into the iCarly gang, which is someone with a lot of confidence, because we don't get that from really anyone else in the gang. For this reason, I do wish he was a mainstay, but from my understanding, this is his last episode, which I'm a bit confused about, but it is what it is. Now that we've talked about our characters, let's briefly talk about Easter eggs, which I only have one, which is the mention of Emily Ratajkowski, who did play Gibby's girlfriend in the original iCarly, so a very, very small Easter egg, but I thought I'd still mention it. Now, let's take a look at what I think might be the most important scene from this episode, which involves Freddy and Pearl. In this scene, we have two people talking about their relationship and where it might be going. And this is especially important with the whole Freddy theme going on in this season, and I think that this foreshadows a lot, but I'm not sure what it does at the same time.
In all my past relationships, I always went too fast. I just didn't want to mess things up with you, so I've been taking it slow.
Now, let's get into my favorite part of the video, which is analysis and takeaways. First of all, as I mentioned earlier, this is Paul's theoretically last episode. But how? How is he just going to disappear? How is that all going to happen? Let me know in the comments because I'm a bit baffled about that. Next, Freddy and Pearl are as healthy as a partnership gets, so how is this going to crash and burn in 2 episodes? What do we think? Let me know in the comments as well about this one because something's going to happen next episode with them too, I'm sure of it. How fun was the monkey this episode? Like, I've already read comments about it, but everyone seems to love the monkey. It was just such a great fit. It reminds me of when they had the ostrich in the original iCarly, and I think that these animals fit quite well into the iCarly theme for some reason. And the monkey, oh man, what if he was a main character? You know what I mean? There's a pretty stiff nod in this episode about influencers and commercial culture, about social media and getting likes and how artificial it is. And Carly kind of doesn't like that whole side of it. And I think that this kind of political commentary in this episode is important, and I kind of liked it actually. I kind of joked about it earlier, but it is still really funny how in the original season 6 of iCarly, Spencer had this whole episode where they tried to find him friends, like adult friends, and it's still kind of running right now with his adult friend being a monkey, and I just think it's really fun, and I love his interactions with the monkey. I mentioned it again, I know. I put out a poll to see how people felt about this episode, episode 8, and we got about 200 votes here, with over 70% of people saying this was either a good episode or one of their favorite episodes, so seems like people generally like this episode. To contradict this, I do have a few comments saying this episode was less than good. I'll read out a few. Kevin says, besides the monkey, this episode was fairly boring. Season 2 started well and has gone on a downward spiral so fast. I don't know if I'd consider this episode boring for myself, but I do agree with Kevin that the second season has gone downhill from the beginning because it started incredibly strong. And Steven says, I'm going to have to say this was my least favorite episode of season 2. I really did enjoy it. Also, having Jake from State Farm Guy in iCarly was strange. Also, I knew that Paul was going to mess up at some point because there was no way that he was going to be iCarly's manager forever. I would say yes, Paul screwed up. It also wasn't his fault the way things went, so I don't think that's enough of a reason to leave Paul, at least not in my opinion. The Jake from State Farm was a bit weird for me as well, but at the same time, the guy's an actor, we have to give him a break, right? And lastly, whether this episode was good or not, I don't know if it was my least favorite. I maybe the monkey was enough for me, but yeah, it wasn't a strong episode. I'd agree with that. And lastly, JKP says, dude, that scene with the monkey and Spencer walking in sync with their hands behind their back made me laugh so much. And I have to agree, that was a very amusing scene. I don't know how they make the monkey, how they train the monkey to do all that stuff. It's amazing. But that's it for this week's review. Sorry for the late upload. I was traveling, but thank you all for watching. Let me know what you thought in the comments below for this episode. I personally thought it was, it wasn't the worst episode. I didn't have much against it. I was thoroughly entertained, I guess. But obviously, it was more of a filler episode, a bit weaker. But I'll see you guys very soon. Really a couple days only until the next episode. Looking forward to it, and I'll see you guys very soon.